Hello, Johnny Worthen here. I'm the author of the Gaia Chime. I'm going to talk a little bit right now about where the idea came from. Well, the original idea was published in a short story called Flame Unspeakable in 2017 in the Utah horror anthology called Apocalypse Utah. It was a generational short story of chaos and everything, and I loved the idea that it goes back to ancient lore, ancient mythologies. The idea percolated for a long time, and then during COVID, when I found myself strangely unable to write a comedy piece, I fell into exploring this as a very dark level. I've always had an idea of writing a follow-up for What a Mortal Hand, a full-on apocalypse story, a full-on end of the world story, and this kind of fell into that. So yeah, not for children's reading, unless you're into that kind of thing. But two other elements came into this. First of all, there was a 1968 movie called Wild in the Streets, which really had an effect on me. It was at that point, it's more about idol worship. There was a rock singer that rises up to become the leader of the free world. And there's, all the generational thing where they actually used acid to trip out the entire Senate to pass bills and things. It was kind of a creepy story. But it kind of led the idea of a generational warfare, which has always kind of stuck in my mind. So I suspect that was probably the predecessor for Flame Unspeakable. Then, of course, we have Greta Thunberg, who is a very vocal advocate for climate change, and she's young, at least when she started. I think she's 21 now, but when she did, "How dare you" speech, she was very young. She was a young voice, and the whole youth idea of revolution is very much encapsulated in that movement, and actually in every movement. Every generation tries to have a revolution, and this is the one that she was spearheading. Lastly, there was the documentary Icarus, a 2017 documentary by Brian Fogel. It won the 2018 Academy Award for Best Documentary. In it, it starts as a documentary about doping and in speed racing, but then it slowly evolves into this exploration of the Russian doping scandals in the Olympics. Got creepy and dangerous in a hurry, and I loved that form. That you start with A, you go to B, and then suddenly you're in your K, L, and Z. It's just very cool. So that was the structure of the whole thing. And of course, behind all of this, there was the COVID fear of the end of the world. There's the separation. There's the generation gap turning violent. When I wrote it, it was science fiction, but recent events have kind of once again shown that fiction is prophetic. I hope it's not too prophetic, but that's where it came from.